My name might sound ridiculous to you, but they call me Bacon. Yeah, I know, the irony isn't lost on me. I'm a 3-month-old piglet living on the outskirts of downtown Chicago, and today I'm about to embark on the most important journey of my short life. You see, most people think pigs are just farm animals, but we're actually incredibly intelligent creatures with an extraordinary sense of smell, about 2,000 times stronger than humans. That's exactly why I'm standing here at dawn, sniffing the cold morning air with a determination that surprises even myself. It all started yesterday evening when I heard Mrs. Henderson from the house next to our small urban farm crying hysterically on her phone. Through her broken sobs, I caught fragments. Emma, she's only 6, been missing since this morning. Police say she might have wandered toward the city center. The desperation in her voice cut through me like a knife. Emma Henderson, the little girl with golden curls who always saved her apple cores for me, who would sit by my pen and read me stories from her picture books. She was the only human who ever looked at me and saw more than just a future meal. As I listened to Mrs. Henderson's anguished words, something primal awakened inside me. Dogs aren't the only animals capable of loyalty and heroism. My sensitive snout had memorized Emma's scent months ago, that unique combination of strawberry shampoo, chalk dust from her sidewalk drawings, and something indefinably sweet that all children carry. If the police couldn't find her, maybe I could. After all, what did I have to lose? Life on this small farm meant I was destined for someone's dinner plate anyway. The decision wasn't easy. Leaving meant abandoning the only home I'd ever known, facing dangers I couldn't even imagine, and venturing into a world designed for humans, not livestock. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face, the way she'd giggle when I'd nuzzle her hand, how she'd whisper secrets to me like I was her best friend. She was more than my daily visitor. She was my connection to hope, to the possibility that not all humans saw animals as mere commodities. So here I stand, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, ready to begin a 7-kilometer trek through one of America's busiest cities. My plan is simple yet terrifying. Follow Emma's scent wherever it leads, no matter the obstacles. I've never been beyond these farm gates, never navigated traffic or faced the countless dangers that await a small pig in an urban jungle. But love makes us brave, doesn't it? And what I feel for that little girl, this fierce, protective instinct, that's love in its purest form. The morning air carries thousands of scents: car exhaust, cooking bacon, the irony stings, blooming flowers, and countless human odors. But underneath it all, like a golden thread weaving through the chaos, I can detect the faintest trace of Emma's scent. It's old, maybe 18 hours, but it's there. My heart pounds with both terror and excitement as I squeeze through a gap in the fence that I've been eyeing for weeks. The city stretches before me like a concrete ocean, vast and unforgiving, but somewhere out there is a lost little girl who needs me. As I take my first steps onto the sidewalk, a passerby stops and stares. "Is that a pig?" I hear him mutter to his companion. Little does he know, this pig is about to prove that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. The first hour of my journey nearly ended in disaster. I'd barely made it 3 blocks when an animal control van turned the corner, its driver doing a double-take at the sight of me trotting down Michigan Avenue. My heart hammered against my ribs as I dove behind a row of parked cars, my little hooves slipping on the smooth pavement. This was my first real lesson about city survival. Invisibility was key. I couldn't help Emma if I ended up in a cage at the pound. Crouched between a Honda and a pickup truck, I forced myself to think strategically. Emma's scent was leading me northeast, toward the heart of downtown, but I couldn't just waddle down main streets like I owned the place. I needed to be smarter, more creative. That's when I noticed the network of alleys running parallel to the major roads, narrow passages filled with dumpsters, fire escapes, and shadows deep enough to hide a small pig. My first real breakthrough came when I encountered Marcus, a homeless man sitting behind a Korean restaurant, sharing his breakfast sandwich with 3 stray cats. When he spotted me, instead of calling authorities, he chuckled and tore off a piece of bread. "Well, ain't you something special?" he said, his weathered face creasing into a smile. "What's a little pig doing so far from home?" I approached cautiously, and somehow, he seemed to understand that I wasn't just a lost farm animal. There was purpose in my movement, determination in my eyes. "You looking for something, buddy?" Marcus asked, and I swear he really listened when I snorted and nudged toward the northeast. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I've been living these streets for 8 years, and I've learned to recognize when someone's on a mission. You got that look, little fella." He pointed down the alley. "That way leads to Grant Park. But be careful, lots of foot traffic, and not everyone's as understanding as old Marcus here." As I continued my journey, weaving through back alleys and ducking behind vehicles, Emma's scent grew stronger. It was mixed now with traces of fear, a sharp, acrid smell that made my stomach clench. She'd been scared when she passed this way. The trail led me past coffee shops where the morning rush was beginning, through a small park where joggers barely glanced at the small pink figure darting between trees, and along a busy street where I had to time my crossings between traffic lights. By mile 2, I was exhausted and overwhelmed. The city was so much louder, smellier, and more chaotic than I'd imagined. Car horns blared constantly, creating a symphony of urban aggression. The pavement was hard on my hooves, nothing like the soft earth of the farm. And the smells, thousands upon thousands of them, threatened to overwhelm my sensitive nose and make me lose Emma's trail entirely. That's when I met Rosario, a street vendor setting up her flower cart. She spotted me drinking from a puddle, and instead of shooing me away, she filled a small paper cup with clean water. "Ay, pobrecito," she murmured in accented English. "You look lost, little one." As I drank gratefully, she examined me with kind eyes. "But you're not really lost, are you? You're searching." Somehow, this stranger understood what others might miss, that my journey had purpose. Rosario had seen Emma the day before. A little girl with curly hair, yes? She was crying, asking people if they'd seen her mama. Broke my heart. "She went that way," she pointed toward the lake, toward Navy Pier. "But Mijo, that's still miles from here, and very dangerous for a little pig." She knelt down and looked me straight in the eyes. "Be careful, brave one. The city can be cruel to those who are different." As I prepared to leave, Rosario did something unexpected. She placed a small flower behind my ear. "For protection," she said with a sad smile. "And so people might see you're special, not just a stray." Her kindness gave me strength for the challenges ahead, but also filled me with urgency. If Emma had been crying and looking for her mother yesterday, she was likely still lost, still scared, and probably hungry. Every minute counted now. The scent trail was getting fresher as I approached the 3rd mile of my journey, leading me directly toward the heart of Chicago's most crowded tourist district. Navy Pier stretched before me like a carnival of impossible obstacles. Thousands of tourists, street performers, and vendors created a human maze that seemed designed to swallow a small pig whole. Emma's scent was stronger here, mixed with the overwhelming aromas of deep dish pizza, cotton candy, and Lake Michigan's fishy breeze. My flower, Rosario's gift, had already attracted curious stares, but also something unexpected, smiles instead of alarm. A group of school children spotted me first. "Look, it's a pig with a flower," squealed a little boy, pointing excitedly. Instead of causing panic, my appearance sparked delight. Their teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, approached cautiously but with wonder rather than fear. "Well, hello there, little one. You're quite far from any farm." She knelt down, studying my determined expression and the flower tucked behind my ear. "You know what? You look like you're on a very important mission." That's when 8-year-old Tyler spoke up. "I saw a girl crying yesterday. She had yellow hair and was asking everyone about her mom. She was right by the Ferris wheel." My heart leaped. Emma's trail was hot, and I was gaining ground. Ms. Rodriguez seemed to sense my urgency. Instead of calling animal control, she did something remarkable. She helped me navigate through the crowd, creating a path by explaining to curious onlookers that I was a very special pig on a very special mission. The 4th mile brought me to Millennium Park, where Emma's scent took an alarming turn. Instead of continuing straight, it veered toward the more isolated areas near the lake. My worst fears began materializing. She hadn't just wandered off, she'd been trying to hide. The scent of fear was stronger now, accompanied by something else that made my blood run cold, the smell of adult human male, unfamiliar and somehow threatening. I found the spot where Emma had spent significant time, behind a large sculpture, hidden from main walkways. The ground still held her scent strongly, along with traces of the unknown man. There were candy wrapper fragments, the kind adults use to lure children. My protective instincts went into overdrive. This wasn't just a case of a lost child. Emma might have been taken by someone with bad intentions. Detective Sarah Chen was having her lunch break on a nearby bench when she noticed me circling the sculpture area frantically, snorting and pawing at the ground. As a 20-year veteran of Chicago PD, she'd learned to pay attention to unusual behavior. "What's got you so worked up, little guy?" she approached cautiously. When I looked up at her with desperate eyes and nudged toward the ground where Emma's scent was strongest, something clicked in her experienced mind. "You're tracking something, aren't you?" Detective Chen knelt down, studying the area I'd been investigating. That's when she spotted them. Small sneaker prints in the dirt, along with larger adult footprints and those candy wrappers. Her expression grew serious. "This matches the description from the missing child report." She radioed for backup while keeping one eye on me. "Unit 47, I'm at Millennium Park Sculpture Garden. I may have found evidence related to the Henderson missing child case. And, this might sound crazy, but I think I have a witness." What happened next proved there are angels in human form. Instead of dismissing me as just an animal, Detective Chen treated me like a partner. "Can you follow the trail from here?" she asked. When I immediately began moving northeast toward the lake, nose to the ground, she followed. "Dispatch, I need units to converge on the lakefront path. I have a unique tracking asset that's leading me toward what might be our missing 6-year-old. The trail led us along Lake Michigan's shoreline, where Emma's scent mixed with lake spray and became harder to follow. But I pressed on, Detective Chen right beside me, her radio crackling with updates from other units. We were now at the 5-kilometer mark of my journey, and I could sense we were close. The afternoon sun was beginning to fade, and somewhere ahead in the growing shadows, a little girl needed us. As we rounded a bend in the lakefront path, Detective Chen's radio crackled with urgent news. "All units, we have a possible sighting of our missing child at the old pier warehouse. Suspect vehicle spotted in the area." My worst fears were being confirmed, but I also felt a surge of hope. After walking nearly the entire length of Chicago, following nothing but scent and determination, we were finally closing in on Emma. "Come on, partner," Detective Chen said, breaking into a run. "Let's go bring that little girl home." The abandoned warehouse loomed before us like something from a nightmare, its broken windows staring out at Lake Michigan like dead eyes. Detective Chen's backup had arrived. 3 squad cars with their lights flashing silently, officers positioning themselves around the building's perimeter. But Emma's scent trail led directly to a side entrance that the police hadn't yet discovered, and I knew time was running out. "The primary entry team is going in through the front," Detective Chen whispered into her radio, "but our tracking asset has found another access point. I'm going to investigate." She looked down at me with a mixture of admiration and concern. "You've brought us this far, little hero. But this part might be dangerous. You should stay back and let us handle it." But I couldn't stop now, not when Emma was so close I could practically hear her heartbeat. Her scent was overwhelming here. Fear, tears, and underneath it all, that sweet essence that made her uniquely Emma. I squeezed through a gap in the warehouse's foundation that was too small for human officers, my flower getting crushed against the concrete as I belly crawled into darkness. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of abandoned machinery and shipping containers. Dust motes danced in shafts of afternoon sunlight streaming through broken skylights. And there, huddled in the far corner behind a stack of old crates, I found her. Emma Henderson, still wearing her pink Disney princess t-shirt, now dirty and torn. Her golden curls were tangled, her face streaked with dried tears, but she was alive. "Emma," I grunted softly, the way I used to when she'd visit my pen. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. "Bacon," she whispered, her voice hoarse from crying. "Bacon, is that really you? How did you find me?" She reached out with trembling hands, and when I nuzzled against her palm, she burst into fresh tears, but these were tears of relief and joy. I knew someone would come for me. I knew it. But I never thought it would be you. That's when we heard heavy footsteps approaching. A man's voice, rough and angry. Where did that kid go? She was right here a minute ago. Emma's grip on my fur tightened, and I could smell her terror spiking. Through a gap in the crates, I saw him, a large man in a dirty baseball cap, scanning the warehouse with growing frustration. This was the source of that threatening scent I'd been tracking. We have to hide, Emma breathed into my ear. But I had a different idea. I'd come 7 kilometers through one of America's biggest cities to find this little girl, and I wasn't about to cower in the shadows while she remained in danger. Sometimes, being small and underestimated is actually an advantage. I stepped out from behind the crates and began making noise. Not squealing in fear, but grunting and snorting loudly enough to echo through the warehouse. The man spun around, staring in confusion at the sight of a pig wearing a crushed flower. "What the hell?" he muttered, moving toward me. "How did a pig get in here?" "That's exactly what I wanted." As he approached, focused entirely on the strange sight of a livestock animal in an abandoned warehouse, he didn't notice Detective Chen and 2 other officers slipping through the entrance I'd found. They moved like shadows, positioning themselves between the man and Emma's hiding spot. "Chicago police. Don't move." Detective Chen's voice rang out with authority. The man spun around, his hand moving toward his jacket, but he was surrounded. "Step away from the pig and put your hands where we can see them." What happened next unfolded like a movie scene. The man tried to run, but I was ready for that too. As he turned toward the exit, I darted between his legs, causing him to stumble and crash into a stack of metal pipes. The noise was tremendous, and by the time he tried to get up, 3 officers had him in handcuffs. "Emma!" Detective Chen called out. "Emma Henderson? You're safe now, sweetheart. Your grandmother is waiting for you." Emma emerged from her hiding spot, still clutching my fur, tears streaming down her face. "He said he was taking me to see my mommy," she sobbed to Detective Chen. "But then he brought me here and said I had to be quiet or bad things would happen. I was so scared, but Bacon found me. My pig friend found me." As paramedics checked Emma over and officers processed the scene, Detective Chen knelt down beside me. "I've been a cop for 20 years, she said quietly, "and I've never seen anything like what you did today. You tracked a missing child across an entire city, led us to evidence, found a hidden entrance we missed, and helped us catch a kidnapper. You're going to be famous, little hero." But fame wasn't what I wanted. All I cared about was the feeling of Emma's arms around me, her whispered "thank you" in my ear, and the knowledge that she was safe. The sun was setting over Chicago as we emerged from the warehouse, painting the sky in shades of victory. 3 weeks later, I was still trying to process everything that had happened. The media had dubbed me Bacon the Hero Pig, and my story had gone viral worldwide. People from every continent sent letters, flowers, and donations to the urban farm where I lived. Emma visited me every day, just like before, but now she brought friends who wanted to meet the famous pig who had crossed Chicago to save a little girl. What no one knew, what I hadn't told anyone because, well, pigs can't exactly hold press conferences, was the real reason I'd been able to track Emma so successfully across 7 kilometers of urban chaos. You see, there was something about that day that had never made sense to me, something I'd kept pushing to the back of my mind because it seemed impossible. Detective Chen had become a regular visitor to our farm, often bringing Emma for what they called therapy visits. On this particular autumn afternoon, as golden leaves fell around us and Emma read me a story about brave animals, Detective Chen was reviewing the case files one more time. "There's something that's been bothering me about this whole thing," she said to Mrs. Henderson, who had brought homemade cookies as thanks for my heroism. "The timeline doesn't quite add up. Emma disappeared on Tuesday morning, but according to all our evidence and witness statements, she was taken to that warehouse on Wednesday afternoon. Where was she for that first day and night?" Emma looked up from her book, a strange expression crossing her face. "I was with the nice lady," she said quietly. The one who looked just like bacon. The adults exchanged confused glances. What nice lady, sweetheart? Mrs. Henderson asked gently. She found me when I got lost looking for Mommy's grave at the cemetery, Emma explained. I wasn't supposed to go alone, but I missed Mommy so much. The lady was wearing a pink dress and had kind eyes, and she said she would keep me safe until someone could take me home. She looked just like bacon, but she was a person. Detective Chen's face went pale. Emma, can you describe this lady more specifically? She had blonde curly hair like mine, and she smelled like strawberries. She said her name was Sarah, and that she had been watching over me for a long time. She kept me safe in a little house by the lake, but then the bad man came and she couldn't stop him. But she promised that Bacon would find me because they were connected. Mrs. Henderson's cookies fell to the ground as she gasped. Sarah. Sarah was Emma's mother's name. She died in a car accident 2 years ago. The pieces began clicking together in Detective Chen's experienced mind. Emma, this lady, did she have any distinctive features? Anything that stood out? Emma nodded solemnly. She had a little scar on her hand, shaped like a crescent moon. Just like the one Mommy had. The silence that followed was profound. Mrs. Henderson was crying now, and Detective Chen was staring at me with an expression of awe and confusion. Because here's the truth that I'd been carrying alone. I hadn't tracked Emma across Chicago using just my sense of smell. On that first morning when I'd left the farm, as I'd stood at the fence preparing for my journey, I'd seen her. A woman in a pink dress with kind eyes and curly blonde hair, standing beside me and pointing northeast toward the city. I'd felt her presence throughout my entire journey, a gentle guidance that kept me on the right path, a whisper in my ear when I'd been too tired to continue, a warm feeling in my heart that told me Emma was alive and waiting. I thought I was going crazy from stress and exhaustion. Animals don't see ghosts, after all. But Emma's description matched exactly what I'd been seeing, a loving mother who hadn't let death stop her from protecting her daughter, who had somehow connected with me. The one creature who loved Emma enough to cross an entire city to find her. As Detective Chen gathered her files and Mrs. Henderson hugged Emma close, I understood something profound about love and connection. Sometimes the bonds we form transcend the physical world. Sometimes love is so strong it can guide a small pig across impossible distances, can connect the living and the dead, can turn an ordinary farm animal into a hero. Emma looked at me with those wise 6-year-old eyes and whispered, "You saw her too, didn't you, Bacon? You saw my mommy." I nuzzled her hand gently, and in that moment, I knew that some stories are too beautiful and mysterious for the world to fully understand. But Emma and I would carry this secret together, the knowledge that love never really dies, it just finds new ways to protect the ones we cherish most. The hero pig story the world celebrated was remarkable enough. But the real miracle, a mother's love reaching across the veil of death to guide a pig to save her daughter, that was a story that belonged to us alone, as sacred and beautiful as love itself.